You're listening to The Artist Athlete, episode 29. This podcast is dedicated to circus. It's a place for professionals to share their stories, viewpoints, and information, and a place for outsiders to get a sneak peek into the industry. And what an industry interview do I have for y'all today. Hey friends, fans, and enemies, I'm Shannon McKenna, and I'm the host of the Artist Athlete podcast and the founder of theartistathlete.com. This podcast exists because of 68 wonderful people from all over the world who give a small monthly donation to help me cover the costs of running a podcast. If you want to help me reach my goal of $500, which means the podcast is entirely self-sufficient, I'm not paying for any of this out of my own pocket, and I can start doing things like producing transcripts of these interviews, go to patreon.com/theartistathlete and pledge today. You can give as little as $1, and all payments are totally secured. Go to patreon.com/theartistathlete and keep listening. In fact, if you're already a Patreon, you got to hear this interview already last week. Because every once in a while on the Patreon page, I'll just throw out an interview, sometimes uncut, early. My guest today is Nathalie Yves Gaultier. Nathalie was raised in a native village called Nunavut, just below Greenland, and was fluent in Inuit and French before English, after being teased as being white and Eskimo. She moved to Montreal, Canada at age 10 and became a renowned child actor on television, films, and a recording artist in both Canadian and American projects. She had a talent agency at the age of 14, attended McGill University at 14 as a gifted child, and completed high school early with honors. She then attended Concordia University and received her BFA. By age 28, she owned 4 talent agencies in Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, and Beverly Hills. She has launched the careers of stars such as Ryan Gosling, Hayden Christensen, and Alicia Cuthbert. She has booked, trained, and launched the careers of multiple Cirque du Soleil and European circus and variety acts and artists. She writes and creates shows internationally and is often a circus or youth consultant or acting coach on film and TV sets. She is the mastermind behind the internationally acclaimed and multi-award-winning PeTiTe CiRqUe, a company dedicated to the training and creating of circus with child prodigies. A happily married gay woman, Nathalie and her wife are living the dream with homes in Newport Beach and Palm Springs and their 4 dogs. This interview, I decided not to cut the beginning off of. Usually when I have a guest, I call them up and I have a little conversation before I start recording. But with Nathalie, she says incredibly important things right off the bat. So I just kind of let the tape roll. Here's my interview with Nathalie Yves Gaultier. Hello. How are you?
Amazing, happy, tired, but good.
I bet. Have you been traveling a lot?
I've been traveling a lot, and I've been shooting this television series, which has been 14 to 16 hours a day, and it's very long. Plus, getting offers for PeTiTe CiRqUe and touring and off to Brazil next week. And oh my God, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah. I can't imagine because I, as like a just traveling workshop instructor and sometimes performer who has a podcast, I feel like I'm doing a lot. So
yeah, well, you are.
Reading someone like your bio, I'm just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm a bit crazy.
Respect. Do you have any questions before we get started?
No, I just wanted to, I'm a huge LGBT advocate because I'm a married gay woman. And
hell yeah.
Often I do mention that, when I win awards, I always mention that because there's so many kids out there that are confused or bullied. And I always want them to know that I'm gay and it's okay and you're going to be okay. So I do, and I have an incredible wife who's very successful in her own right. She's a published author. And, so I just always want to include that so I can support and inspire kids.
Amazing. Yeah, for sure we will fit that in. That's awesome. That makes me
Yeah,
really
that's
happy.
it. Everything else, I'm here.
Okay.
Whatever you want to ask.
Can you say a little bit? We'll obviously get into it quite a lot, but just a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I'm a bunch of things actually, but I think what I'm most known for in the past, oh God, I'm about to age myself, in the past 35 years is really someone who is a talent seeker and launcher, specifically with young people. I have launched many, many stars in film and television, Ryan Gosling, Alicia Cuthbert, Kevin Zegers, the list goes on and on. But what I really do is find young talent and hone them and create these live shows with them all over the world, mostly child prodigies. And I absolutely love it. I'm having the greatest time of my life.
Yeah, it sounds like a blast. And you've been doing this for a while, and it sounds like you started in the entertainment industry really early.
I did, and it was very by fluke because I was not raised in Hollywood. I was not even raised in an area that would ever have showbiz near it at all. I was raised in Nunavut, Iqaluit, Northwest Territories. Where is that? Well, right below Greenland, where there's tons of Inuits, Eskimos. My dad was working as an air traffic controller based in the tower there, and here I was, this little blonde, green-eyed child. So I grew up a complete minority. I was the kid that was different because Inuits have dark skin, dark hair, dark eyes. So I was already the only white face in this tiny village. So entertainment industry was not anywhere near me. Therefore, I took the little local dance class and gymnastics class. That was about it. But when we moved out of there when I was 10 years old, we moved to Montreal, Canada. And, I'm the one who begged my parents. I saw a flyer in our mailbox and said, I want to do this acting class. And, 2 classes in, an agent found me. And next thing you know, I was on television and television series and recording children's albums. And so I started in the French Montreal, Quebec film and television industry.
And it says that you founded your own talent agency when you were 14?
I did. She's a crazy kid.
Yeah. Like when I was 14, I don't think I knew how to get dressed in the morning. How did that come about?
I was an overachiever. I was in the gifted children's program in St. Thomas High School in Pointe Claire, Quebec. Very proud to be part of that wonderful school. And I knew I had to do something in this world. I don't know. I heard some sort of voice tell me when I was 7 years old, you have to do this. And I don't know. I have no idea. But at 14, I started a program. I went to the mayor of my town and I said, look, I need a space. I don't have no money, but I have a dream and I want to find gifted kids and do something with them. And the mayor thought he was having a meeting with a 20-year-old woman. I lied on the phone. And here's this, and I was at 14, I was 4'11", weighed maybe 80 pounds. I was very teeny. So I looked like I was about 10. So he asked me where my mother was. And I said, no, my mother is a therapist. She's got nothing to do with this. But I want to meet with you. So I really was pushy in a nice way. And he gave me a space in the city hall. And I started running these classes for kids, inspirational acting classes. And from there, it became a talent agency because about 6 months after I opened that class, there was someone called Richard J. Alexander, who's now one of Barbra Streisand's producers. And he's amazing. And he said, I'm looking for kids for a new show on Broadway called Les Miserables. And I was so, excited. And he saw me on the news and he reached out and said, here's the music. See what you can do in 6 months. And they came back 6 months later and they cast 5 kids for me for Les Mis in Paris, Toronto, Broadway. It was unreal. And I had to become an agent overnight. I had no choice. I contacted a lawyer and I negotiated Broadway contracts and that was it. My agencies were launched. It was huge. I mean, people came at me for kids from Hollywood, Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, and I was just a kid.
That is incredible. You were not an agent first. You were almost a coach or a talent director.
Yes, that's exactly it. I was doing a formation, you know, I was really training these young artists to be real and genuine. You know, I hadn't started in the circus industry at all.
And when did the circus industry take you, or when did you take it?
It took me. It was really interesting because I was a gymnast and I loved, you know, gymnastics and all that. And I did very well as a gymnast. And it was only at 26 years old that I was walking by Harbourfront in Toronto. I had moved to Toronto then, and I'm 26. And, you know, I saw a flying trapeze rig, and I went up and signed up. And they thought I'd been flying for a while, but I'd never done it. So they right away told me to do a layout, and it was just a misunderstanding that they thought I'd been doing it for a long time, and it was my first time, and I nailed it the first time, and when I fell in the net, you know, afterwards I was screaming like a mad woman because it was my first time, you know, and they were like, okay, you know, like you settle down, you know. I said, this was my first time. And they were like, wait. This was your first time? You didn't tell us, you know, and we wouldn't have had you do a layout. And I was like, nah, let's do it again, you know.
No way.
That was it. So I became a flying trapeze artist first, and I absolutely loved it. And I flew, you know, I was agent by day and flying trapeze artist by night. It was just a great thing to do in my 20s and 30s.
How did that transition into what you do now with PeTiTe CiRqUe?
That's a really great question. I did the circus for quite a while. I moved to Los Angeles in 1997 because my agencies had taken off so huge, and I had Ryan Gosling, and I had, you know, a lot of clients that were popping, Golden Globe nominees, and all of a sudden I was like, whoa. I did very, very well as an agent. I was a good agent because I cared. But I wasn't.
Can you talk a little bit more about that actually for a minute? I'm so interested to know, like, what do you think makes a good agent?
It's changed so much in the business, but, you know, I have a little bit of OCD, so I make sure I dot all my I's and cross all my T's, and I just cared, you know. I always was someone that focused more on quantity rather than quality, as opposed to a bunch of artists. I wanted just a few good artists that I knew would make it. So I have an eye for talent. I really think I do. I hope. I thought I must. I should. So
I think you might. Yeah.
Yeah, I moved to LA with six young artists, you know, ages 18 to 24, and all six made it really big. And I think what makes a good agent is someone that is going to be honest. You know, I mean, I've received calls for talent sometimes that say, you know, I want this person to come in for this audition. And I look at the role and I'm like, no, you know, this person can't carry a lead, or they can't carry a whole film. We're going to waste our time, or, you know, they're not ready, or, you know, but if they are ready, I will push, and I will tell directors and casting, you know, you can come after my four beloved dogs if I am steering you wrong. And they know that I'm very honest. They know that. So people do trust me. You know, having a star quality is not everyone has it, you know, sadly. It's that something. There's something about a star quality that I know when I see it, you know. And a good agent's going to really see that.
Interesting.
So I moved to California and you know, did very well with the agency. I became a manager out here because I just didn't want to be an agent in Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, and LA. So I had the agencies all across Canada, over 18 agents working for me. And then it was just huge, you know. It was, my God, I don't know how I did it. So I decided to do something crazy. At 33, which is, people say, is when everyone changes their life. Somehow they say it's the age when Christ died. For some reason, I don't know why I'm bringing that up. But at 33, a lot of people go through a lot of changes in their life. And at 33 years old, I decided I was going to shut everything down. And everyone was like, are you crazy? You just booked Hayden Christensen on Star Wars and you're shutting everything down? I said, that's right. And I did. And I always had a trapeze bar hanging in my office because I would get up and jump on my trapeze bar every now and then just to, shake out the Hollywood craziness. And one day, someone came into my office, and it was Christine Lottie, the very famous actress, Emmy Award winner, blah, blah, blah. And she walked in, and she points out, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh, well, that's my trapeze bar." And she said, "Well, can you show me something?" I was like, "Oh, God. All right," and up I went. And then she said, "Well, can you teach my daughter, Emma, how to do trapeze?" And I said, "Sure." And then the next person that signed up was Stuart Copeland, the drummer, his daughter. And all of a sudden, I had all these celebrities signing up their kids on this trapeze bar in my office. Well, that just kind of grew and grew. And next thing you know, I had, my gosh, the Eagles kids and just all these celebrities signing up their kids. And I needed to get a studio. So I got this tiny, tiny studio in Santa Monica, got my trapeze bar, and just me and Christine Van Loo, my best friend, because I don't know anything about silk. I knew trapeze and hoop, but I don't know silk. And there we were, and there was launched Le Studio. So it became the first youth circus school in the state of California and in Los Angeles. And that was, years ago, 14, 15 years ago, when there was only one circus school, in Los Angeles. And poof, there we were, this kids' school, and it mushroomed. It blew wide open. I mean, it grew so big, we burst at the seams that we had to get a bigger studio, 4,500 square foot studio. And that kept growing and growing. And having that eye for talent and having that OCD thing and having that, demand for greatness and demand for, hey, the human body and mind is capable of so much. I pushed these kids and I got better coaches and I built a great team around myself because nothing is done alone. You need a team. And
I was actually going to ask, where did you find the coaches? How did you scale that and grow that?
It kind of started coming to me. I mean, I started posting videos of what I was doing and it caught the attention of people. And Cirque du Soleil had always known of me and about me. And, they started getting involved. Deborah Lynn Brown, who was the choreographer for Cirque du Soleil for 35 years, she started saying, hey, I caught her eye. So she flew down and started working with me. And it just kind of grew. People were like, this girl's doing something with these kids that we haven't seen before. And honestly, with American kids, because in Canada and in Mongolia and in Europe, children are excellent and they're pushed to the max. And here I am in Los Angeles, of all places, where children are they're pampered pets and you got to treat them with white gloves. And I said, I'm not going to do that. Not everybody wins a medal here. And I did lose a lot of people. And some people are like, oh, we're not coming here because you don't think my kid's good enough. And there was a lot of people that felt their kids, everybody goes home with a goodie bag and everyone gets a medal. And that's not how I work, not if I want to create greatness. So it took a turn and all of a sudden Le PeTiTe CiRqUe was born because out of the woodwork came these amazingly gifted kids. And they started showing up and people started saying, well, it's really hard to make it in. And
you audition kids?
Yes,
I presume.
We do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
So it's no longer just the Eagles kids and...
Oh, no. It's no longer a school. We do have a B team program, which, if your kid has we have kids that have never done any circus whatsoever. Any. And we're great with that. Some kids come in and I can just see by the little hunger in their face or how they climb that silk. And we take them. We take pretty much any kid, as long as they have some sort of a passion. They'll train on the B team, and that means formation. We're forming them. The A team, there's a criteria. It never changes. We don't bend. Parents like, but she's almost, sorry. Mm-hmm. If you don't have your 10 chin-ups, you can't make it in. If you can't climb that silk in a straddle seated position without using your legs, you don't make it in. If you don't have your back handspring, you don't make it in. We do not bend. We do not make exceptions, and people know that. And I'm the only one like that here in the U.S. doing that.
No, yeah, I'm like trying to think of the only other super competitive children's circus that I know of is Circus Smirkus in Vermont. Are you aware of their program?
Absolutely. Circus Marcus and Juventus are
Yes.
absolutely fabulous. We have some kids that are with Le Petit Cirque that are also in both. What I try to pride myself in is non-competitive because the circus industry became so competitive and everyone is like mine, 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 mine. I don't operate like that. I keep telling everyone I'm not a school. Kids can be if your kid makes it into Le Petit Cirque, you're obviously doing a great job at your circus school with this child. So we want them to stay with you. All we want is to see them maybe once a week, once a month, depending on where they live.
So what
Juventus
is Le
is
Petit Cercle if not a school?
it's a production company. It's the only production company with child prodigies in the world.
And what do you do with them?
The sky's the limit. If I could take them to the moon, I will. It's 90% of them are cirque kids, acrobats. We're very well known for our contortion due to the tremendous amount of research and training I've done on the safety of the child's spine. Contortion is our big thing. A lot of contortionists from all over the world come to train with us and spend time with us. We also have a great aerialists. We're renowned for our multiple body aerial acts, and that's what's different. I mean, everyone has seen a girl on silk. Everyone has seen someone on hoop. And I'm thinking entertainment value, production value. If I put someone on a silk doing an act, at an event, people are just going to walk by because they've seen it. But if I put
Sure.
4 children on a silk and they're all contorted, people are going to look at what's that? Oh my God. Or if I have a spinning kind of weird apparatus that's an optical illusion and have 6 contortionists on it, people are going to look. So that's what we're known for is this innovative aerial creations with 2 to 6 bodies on the apparatus. And they're all children and they're usually contortionists or beautiful long legs with long lines. So that's kind of what we do. And then we also audition 2-3 times a year for child prodigies in music. We have, 3-year-old drummers. We have the drummer from Little Big Shots. We have 19-time world champion martial artist, a girl. We have singers that, the singers you see on The Voice or on America's Got Talent or those kind of kids. So it's really exciting to find these prodigies and create these massive live productions with all these prodigies. And it's basically seeing Cirque du Soleil, Little Big Shots, America's Got Talent live on stage, but they're pint-sized.
And in addition to finding these prodigies, do you also direct and produce the shows?
Yes, I create the whole thing. I have an incredible team of coaches that I once I get the kids in, I direct the team and say, I want this to happen with this kid, this to happen, this act, create a trio act with these 3. I kind of direct it all. The coaches do the actual physical training of the kids. I come in and spot check and add, and I call it making spaghetti sauce. That's always been the thing, and how my coaches love it because I'm basically the tomato paste. I hold everything together. Another coach is going to be, I'll say the vegan meat because I don't eat meat. Another coach is going to be the tomatoes. Another one's going to be the spices. And we all work as a team because I'm not any better than any of them. I'm good at what I do, which is I'm a great director. I'm a great promoter. I'm great at bringing everything together. Olivia Brown, who's our head coach, is so great at creating acts and imagery. She's like the main tomatoes for all the spaghetti sauce. So it works because we work as a team. And I love working as a team. It's not all me. I have the vision. I do create the shows and come up with the wacky ideas. Like I'll have a massive cloud exploding on stage with 8 foot archers shooting at the cloud, and the cloud starts raining on stage, and people just scream and yell. And
That sounds like a lot of fun.
yes.
And do you also have, you must have a team of set designers and visual artists also who contribute to this.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is I design all the costumes.
You do.
Yeah, I design all the costumes. I design all the sets, and I design all the music, but I don't create the music because I'm really not musically inclined. But our music is all done by 2 people, mostly Heather Hawley, who's Christina Aguilera's, songwriter and producer. Yeah, so we're very, very, very happy to have some pretty big wigs creating music for us. That's been really
That's incredible.
Exciting. Yeah.
Wow. It says in your bio that you represent Cirque du Soleil artists currently, and I'm interested to hear how representing a circus artist is different than representing an actor.
Oh gosh, it's so different. Well, the first thing I think of is insurance and safety. That's number one. A lot of cirque contracts, not just Cirque du Soleil, but any circus contract, there is no clauses really that protect the artist in terms of an accident. Safety, insurance. I had many artists in cirque. I had one artist, who had a tumor on her back, and it kept growing, and it was very difficult to get the help she needed. I had another artist whose 2 front teeth were knocked out in an acro number, and they went to catch, and the heel hit, and out came the front teeth, and he was 6 months with no front teeth. So this is the kind of stuff I really, really focus on, is the protection of the artist with insurance. Like, what will you do for my artist in terms of an injury or, God forbid, a death,
Sure.
And you don't think about that when you're representing an actor. It's very different. So my main focus is the safety and insurance for medical purposes for the artist. That's the number one thing which people tend to overlook so many times because they're so excited they got in Cirque du Soleil. They're not thinking of, okay, wait, take off your happy ears for a minute and think. So that's the number one thing that's different.
This podcast is brought to you by The Artist Athlete. Did you know that The Artist Athlete is more than just a podcast? It's a growing online resource for students of the aerial arts to deepen their journey to badassery by accessing techniques approved by physical therapists and master coaches in the industry. Our current spotlight is on the fundamentals of aerial alignment, a practical manual for hanging upside down. This online manual is a step-by-step guide. It is complete with photos, videos, and exercises that you can implement immediately to help you gain the strength and awareness you need for an aerial practice that promotes shoulder health and longevity and good posture upright, so you don't walk around like a gorilla. But don't just take my word for it. Here's circus physical therapist Dr. Jen Crane of Cirque Physio to tell you more.
The fundamentals of aerial alignment is an absolute must-have for every aerialist of every level. I can't even tell you how many shoulder injuries I treat that are a direct result of rushing past the basics in an attempt to get a trick too soon. In the manual, Shannon deconstructs the fundamentals, including the correct muscular engagement to safely arrive in these positions and the rationale for why it matters. Of course, in addition to all of these fabulous pearls of wisdom, the book is also ridiculously fun to read. It's been lovingly garnished with the Shannon humor we all know and love.
Thanks, Jen. Cirque Physio is also featured in the book to give scientific insight into why it all works. Pick up your copy today by going to theartistathlete.com and clicking e-manuals. Listeners of the podcast can get a 10% discount by typing in the offer code PODCAST at checkout. Again, that's theartistathlete.com, offer code PODCAST. Now, back to the show. I'm thinking about all of those people out there, and myself included, who have gotten contracts for smaller circuses than Cirque du Soleil, and we kind of become our own agents and managers and have to sit there and look at our own contracts. What advice would you give to us?
Make sure you have insurance, of course, number one. Lawsuits in the U.S. are very, very rampant. I'm Canadian, so I had to learn about lawsuits. I did get sued for something stupid, and I'll tell you right now, I won because it was something called a frivolous lawsuit. But my God, it taught me so much.
Do you mind me asking a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and this is a clause that every artist needs to put in their contracts. It was a show that we had, and a panel mat is 1 1/4 inches high. That's it. And we had security people with lit up cones and orange bright vests. Hello, you can't get any more, protective than that. Standing around the mats, waving cones like, don't cross the mat, And this one woman was in high heels and saw a friend across the way. The friend waved, the woman ran across the mat, not listening to the security guards that were hired by the event, and she tripped, and all she did was sprain her ankle. That was it. Nothing serious. Anyway, long story short, this woman sued me for 180,000. She sued the event, she sued the premises, she sued the town. It was. I learned the word frivolous very much so with this event.
No kidding.
Yeah, but
Oh my
the
God.
drag is, and the awful thing is that it took 3 years out of my life. Now, lawsuits can happen. A statute of limitations is 3 years. So something can happen, and 3 years later, you can get sued. So I only heard about this lawsuit 3 years after it happened. And then it took 6 years. It took 3 years to go through the process. So 6 years of my life was having to deal with this crazy situation. And people have photos and videos. And, some Joe Schmo was videotaping the event, and they got the videos from them, and they freeze framed the photos and showed me photos and said, look, the mat is too close to the audience. I mean, so my big, big, big thing that I learned from that, and that I tell every single artist to put in your contract, is rope off your area and insist that your performance area is roped off at all times, and have 8 feet between your performance area and the audience. You must have your rig completely roped off. I've gotten to gigs. Every time I get there, they never rope it off. And I say, see the clause right here? We will not perform unless you rope it off. Now, we've decided to make it cute, and now we have a big red rope with lights on it and, make it more interesting, because caution tape doesn't look so pretty. Rope off your area to protect yourself from lawsuits, because if you're outdoors, people always run near the rig. They run on the mat. They touch the walking globes. And people will sue for no reason at all. And, they might have been injured on the schoolyard the day before, but they're going to sue you for it.
Sure.
And that's what I've learned. So rope off your area. Most of what we do is big theater production, so we don't have to worry about it as much. But we definitely have mats in all our theater productions. Every time, it's very hard, though, because we're traveling to Norway or Montreal or London. I can't travel with a crash mat.
Yeah, what do you do about that?
This is why I love collaborating and working with so many different people. And I call local gymnastic schools in the area, and we rent mats from them, or most of them always just donate. No one's ever charged me. But it's important. The word community is really important, and that's what I'm trying to really do, is bring the community together and less competitive. Absolutely.
I think sometimes what happens, though, is artists get in a bit of a scarcity mindset, right? Where they don't see it as there's plenty of work to go around. They see it as, this is my gig and someone else is taking it from me. How did you get around that? It sounds like from a very early age, you were very open and very giving.
Very
how
open.
do you not succumb to a scarcity mindset?
That's really good. It is very, very, very difficult. First of all, I have a niche. I have child prodigy. So I'm a little untouched in my market. I don't really have much competition. So I don't want to sound pompous, but no one else really has a child prodigies all kids cirque company. Juventus is older and they don't tour. They're incredible, though. I'm so blown away by them. Circus CiRqUe is incredible. It's a little more old-time circus, which is fabulous, and we need that. We need that. So we're very, very different than anybody else. So we don't have as much competition. That being said, as of late, there have been stage moms that come, and literally stage moms with kids that are either not very good or average with a lot of money. She say, hey, I can do this. So we have started to face competition, believe it or not, with stage mothers, with a lot of money, opening their own circus programs and circus companies. So that's been a real shocker to me. And it's kind of a wake-up call that, wow, I've decided to just let them be and let them do their thing, but they just can't use my credits. They can't say, if their daughters come and performed with me at Nobel Peace Prize, they can't say, the kid performed Nobel Peace Prize with Le PeTiTe CiRqUe. Yes, you can say that, but you cannot say my daughter starred at Nobel Peace Prize. No, she did not. You know what I mean? So that's where we're drawing the line, and that's where I'm starting to feel what some of the artists might feel like, wow, there's so few gigs and people are trying to steal. And I think it's very difficult right now in the industry because the number one reason is the consumer is not educated. And that is the problem, and that is what I want to work on.
I just got like goosebumps when you said that because I could not agree with you more.
Yes, and I'm teaming up with some pretty big wigs in the industry and people that are respected, and we're going to be putting out a very short 60-second video for consumers. Because I work in television and film, and I'm quite known in those mediums. I'm going to educate as much as I can, film and television and live, cruise ships, all these people, with this 1-minute video of how do you know between a novice and a pro. And that's what we're going to try and do, because right now people take 3 silk classes and they're marketing themselves for gigs. And the poor consumers, the people that are the purchasers of these acts, they don't know. Nobody knows. They don't know the difference. They just see a girl on silk. So number 1, ask for unedited video. All these video montages, And no one who submits to me, I say, nope, I don't even want to see photos, because photos are like, hold it, okay. They can't even hold handstands, and it's that 1 second that they took a photo. That's not good. I want to see, shoot it on your iPhone. I don't even want a montage. I want a raw iPhone of you doing a sequence for me, unedited. No costume, no nothing. That's where I see the talent. I can put the costume on them and imagine the costume. I want to see transitions. I want to see people holding handstands. No fancy montages, because a novice can put that together in 2 seconds.
What else do you look for when you are looking at these videos or looking at submissions?
Well, the number one thing is holding a handstand. If someone can't hold a handstand, they're not using their core, and it's, unless you just want girls to sit on a hoop and be ambiance, and that's fine, but I don't do that kind of work. A true athlete must be able to at least hold a handstand. And that is what we insist on all our kids that are ages 10 and up. My biggest recommendation, just FYI for contortion, if you cannot hold a handstand past the age of 10, cease all contortion immediately, because you will fracture your L3, L4, L5. It is guaranteed that by age 19 and 20, your legs will give out on you. You will have spinal fractures. And this is a problem in the industry, especially in the dance world. More and more contortion is entering the dance world. And these poor kids are floppy fishes, flop, 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 flop. And it's fine at age 8, 9, 10. It's okay. The spine is very malleable. But once that pituitary gland kicks in and you start changing, those cores must be engaged for the protection of that spine. Contortion then becomes controlled from the front, not the back. So this is why I insist with all adult artists as well. Show me a nice handstand. Okay, now show me your act. That way I know that they're an athlete. That's an athlete. The next thing I really look for when I'm casting talent, and that's kids or adults, is connection, connection with the audience. I've submitted a lot of people for Cirque du Soleil, and I work with Alain Gauthier of Cavalia, who's a dear friend of mine, and he and I really dig deep with artists in our workshops about connection. So, we've had some artists that are technical masters, and I say, look, I am not at UCLA Gymnastics watching a beam routine right now, okay? That's a technician. And that's wonderful. And that's what that art is, or that sport is. This is called aerial art. We need the word art. Art means a creation, means a feeling, evoking something. So bringing out the art and the feeling from a human being means they have to connect emotionally to the viewer. And that's what's lacking. A lot of artists don't have that. They really need to work on that connection with the audience. And there's a lot of power in stillness. Trick, 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 stop. Stillness. Freeze. Look at the audience. Drop. Boom. Didn't expect that. So that's what I work on in my creations, is connect. And I want to say to you, as I'm watching you as a director, I want to say, oh my God, I didn't expect that. And that's a wonderful compliment to an artist if you can say to them, oh my God, I didn't expect that. There's art. There's beauty right there.
Yeah, because I've been thinking a lot about this lately, about how you can create something that's very by the book, or you can kind of sit there and know what to put in an aerial act. You want the split, you want the drop, but what makes it different than another one?
Yes. I also recommend to the artists really to take theater some theater training. It's so crucial. With Le Petit Cirque, they have ballet, they have dance, they have a lot of dance training. We realized 4 years ago that these kids couldn't move. I put them up in the air. They were great. Put them on the ground to walk off the stage. And I was mortified. I was completely mortified. I had to go to La Tohu in Montreal and see the year-end show of ENC for my kids. They were all with me on tour. And they went, oh my God, we need dance lessons. We need dance training. I said, finally, you get it, So thanks to ENC, they got to see that. And now they move beautifully. And it's mandatory in our program for the ballet, for choreography sequences, and theater. Every week they get at least, they train at least 20, 30 hours a week. And in there's a lot of theater training where it's character. Every child in Le Petit Cirque has a set character. They don't just walk on stage. They have a set character that their costume like Cirque du Soleil, very much like Cirque du Soleil.
Watching your videos, it seems a lot of that kind of style.
Yeah. Very hard, though, with kids, let me tell you. Oh,
Why?
my God. Oh, geez. Because some kids are shy. They're a great aerialist. They're a great tumbler. They're beautiful, but they're shy. So I've had to learn to work with that shyness. So I either will go completely against the grain and make that character big, and boisterous and really pull out of that kid, or I'm going to use the shyness as a sweetness on stage, whatever color is inside the child or any artist, because I work with adults too, I take that color and make it neon and light it up, shed a light on it, because everyone has a different color that they're shining from inside.
Do you work with children different than adults to bring out that color?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm more, I don't have children of my own, and I really wish I had, but I'm very mommying with them. I'm very firm, though. I'm very tough. I'm known to be very tough, but I'm a good back rubber. And when they're in tears, there's tears sometimes because I do push a lot, and I'm the first one to rub the back and say, okay, get yourself together and let's go. I don't baby them, but I mommy them, if that makes any sense.
That makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
And is it different with adults? Are you less of a mommy?
Yes. I kick ass. I just kick their butts with adults. And I use my Sally example. If you're not going to do it, little Sally will, because there's always a Sally at every audition, at every job. Sally is there, and Sally is the one that will do whatever it takes to get the job. So if you're not going to do it, Sally will, because there's always a Sally everywhere you go.
Do you find it harder to get people to, I hope I asked this correctly, because I find it so interesting, this kind of like the acrobots, as you've alluded to, where they're really technically amazing, but they're not so great at finding that thing, that je ne sais quoi inside that is emotive. And then I find there are really amazing performers and really engaging people who sometimes struggle technically.
Right.
Which population would you be more likely to want to work with?
It really depends. And I will tell you, I categorize when I book artists in two categories. The big stage productions or the big circuses, they need it all. They need the emotive. They need the performance artists. They need the prodigies. They need that inside flame that you're either born with or not. They need that level. Then there's the other, some never achieve it. I have an artist that I've been working with for 7 years, and it's not happening. I mean, I hate to say this, but sometimes there's psychological issues or trauma from childhood that blocks people. They're blocked. They don't want to go there because they can't, because it's too painful. So those artists sadly will not make Cirque du Soleil. They won't make the big shows, but I put them in things like Six Flags or, events or galas where it's not necessary to have all that deep emotion. And I'm sorry if this sounds harsh, but it's the reality. I'm an agent. I'm a booker. This is what happens. I can't name names, but there's an artist that I just booked. That's all she does, because she's tried out for Cirque du Soleil 6 or 7 times, and they come back with the exact same thing. No connection. But Six Flags and all these events, and she works nonstop at that kind of stuff. There's a place for everybody. There's no wrong or right. There's just a place for everybody.
So you think that there are people who are just technically amazing who they just, for whatever reason, don't have that inner spark?
Yes, sadly. or they're not able to find that emotional connection. Either if they're afraid, it's workable. Fear is workable, in a safe environment. I tend to turn off all the lights in the studio and just put the spotlights on the stage and make it very much like a womb, a closed space where they feel very safe. And we spend weeks working in that kind of environment. That works. You can't expect someone to open up in a neon lit office lighting room, Yikes. If fear is okay, it can be combated, but if it's a mental block, and was something that Alain Gauthier and I from Cavalia had many discussions about in our workshops. We worked with so many adult artists for Cavalia. I was associate casting director on that, and we tried to get people on board, and we couldn't get some to open up. And he and I had a discussion, and he said, childhood trauma or psychological blocking barriers will often prevent someone, from being able to reach that emotional level. And there's nothing you can do. I mean, they got to go to therapy or figure it out, or they're going to work at Six Flags. And I'm not putting Six Flags down at all, because we need artists there too. Yeah.
I've auditioned for Elaine, and actually talking to you now, this makes so much more sense.
Oh, really?
That audition process, makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about your consulting work.
Yeah, I love it.
Your very special, the CBS situation you've got going on now.
It's crazy.
Can you talk a little bit about it?
A little bit. I have to be cautious because we premiere on Super Bowl, actually. It's very interesting because I've been involved in film and television my whole life. I was, a performer myself, blah, blah, blah. And then the agency. And when I moved to Hollywood, people still, when they want a talented kid or circus artist, they call me right away. And then it ended up being, a specialist. Oh, she's a specialist. Oh, okay, I guess I'm a specialist. And I've worked on numerous film sets and television. And anytime there's a circus or carnival scene, I'm kind of the go-to girl for film and television. I love television. I love television. I have a great time at it. And I have a movie coming out right now called Saving Flora, which is with Tom Arnold, David Arquette, Rhea Perlman, and the lovely Jenna Ortega. That script was sent to me, and someone said, "Look, it's about an elephant, and it's right down your alley. Can you be the consultant on it, and can you cast all the circus acts?" I read the script and had tears, and I just loved the script. I said, "Okay, I really want to work on this film." So we shot that last summer. Not this summer, but summer before, 2017. And, I worked every day on that set, and I cast all the circus acts and even created a lot of circus acts. And then I had to choreograph a lot of circus acts for the film. And again, I added in, my specialty, which was 5 people on one trapeze bar. And I had Jenna Ortega and another star up on there, and 2 or 3 of my own artists on there. So I was the manager to all these artists, plus I cast about 16 circus artists on the film, and then I worked on the film every day, hand in hand with the director. So do go see Saving Flora. It's coming out in theaters soon, a fabulous film. Anything to do with circus, I've been on it. And all of a sudden one day I just kind of get this email a few weeks ago, because it happened very quickly, saying, you've been recommended because I work on Little Big Shots a lot. And they said, the producers of Little Big Shots want you to work on this. Put yourself on camera. I said, on camera? What do you mean? I don't want to be on camera. Those days are done, No, thanks. And then they said, well, just do it. They're looking for someone to be a circus specialist and an international flair, and you're French Canadian. And so I just did it as a joke. Well, they cast me on the damn show. I couldn't believe it. I said, are you kidding me? So I've been shooting this great series, for CBS, produced by Mark Burnett and Mike Darnell. They're the tops in television. Ivor, the voice, you can't get any bigger than these guys. And we've been shooting this show called The World's Best. And it's, they were smart. They said, what if we make the biggest talent competition in the world? And the judges is an international panel of judges. It's international. And the world has to decide who the best in the world is. So we've been shooting. And this
is the best in the world across everything, right? These are singers.
Yes.
These are
and I will tell
artists,
you, it is the best. It is so hard. We have to press a button and vote. And many times they're like, okay, press the button. And we're all sitting there like deer caught in the headlight. So we've been shooting. We're still shooting. We're very excited. And it just hit the press last week that we are premiering right after Super Bowl on February 3rd for 100 million viewers. So I'm a nervous wreck.
I can only imagine. That's incredible.
And I can't talk much more about it or I'll be in breach of contract. But
can I ask you what RuPaul is really like?
Yes, you can ask me what they're like. Oh my God.
Okay.
They're all amazing. Drew Barrymore is extremely bright. I never knew that this woman was so well-spoken and so intelligent. What a bright, bright, bright light. Share a lot of bathroom time with her because I always have to go to the bathroom and she's always there with me. And we have our bathroom stuff. So she's wonderful. Faith Hill is probably one of the most eloquent, kind, gentle, beautiful souls I've ever met. She's Christian, which I love, and very close to God, which is so beautiful. And RuPaul is a hoot. I've got quite a few photos I'll be releasing once the show airs. I can't right now, of course, we're not allowed, but I have so many silly photos of me and Ru being silly and having fun. And we have the same glasses on the show. So we've been, messing around with that. And James Corden is the host, and he's absolutely hilarious. And there is an episode where he calls my wife on the show and it leaves her a message. It's just so silly, and tells her that he and I are dating. It's absolutely hilarious. I almost fainted when he did that, but very, very funny. So I've been having a good time with wonderful people and meeting international judges of, Britain's Got Talent, Holland's Got Talent, So You Think You Can Dance, Nigeria, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all the judges from those TV shows. So it's all of us together and just me with these amazing, amazing established people from all over the world. So it's
I think you might be one of them, Nathalie.
I don't feel like I am. I believe in humility and staying humble and kind. And
do you ever get that? Do you ever feel like you're, they call it imposter syndrome, but this feeling that you're like, how did I get here?
Constantly. Yeah. And it's an insecurity. I mean, I'm insecure like everybody else. Complete insecurity. I don't think I'm pretty enough. I don't think I'm good enough. I think I'm a good director, though, because I've seen the reactions of my shows. I've seen grown men cry. I've seen the mayor of LA come and ask to meet me, or Nobel Peace Prize commission me to create a piece. So I guess I must be doing something right.
Yeah, I would say so. I think you're on a good track. I think you could just keep going and you'll be good.
So yeah, I'm happy. I like what I do.
You own the largest circus training facility in LA. You've raised over $5 million for charities. Do you want to talk about any of the causes that you stand for?
Everything and anything. Mostly children, mostly animals, and peace. Banning nuclear weapons and banning all that violence. We're there, we've raised so much money and we're not even a nonprofit. And I have a secret formula that how I do all this, which I can't share, but it works great. And people just basically hire us to do their shows. And we raise a lot of money for them internationally. And they keep all the money and I just want my fee. Just give me my little fee for me and my kids and you keep all the money. And it's working. And we're bringing awareness and I'm very proud of that.
Do you represent animals?
No, but my dogs all do great tricks. I have four dogs, 3 schnauzers and a cocker, and they all do tricks.
Do you train them?
Yes.
Or do you have someone?
Nope,
nice.
I train them. Yep.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So we're coming to the end of the interview, but I have to ask you the question that I ask every single one of my guests, because I created this podcast basically because I started circus right out of NYU, and I did it because I wasn't getting a lot of success in New York auditioning, and I wanted to pad out my resume with something else. So I started doing aerial silks and trapeze, and then got a job in a circus and teaching flying trapeze, and then kind of took off from there. But I didn't know how to get into the business. I didn't even know what the business was.
Right.
And so I created this podcast because I was thinking back and I was like, man, I wish that I had just a bunch of people to give me advice.
Absolutely.
About what to do when I was at the beginning. So I always ask at the end of every episode, what advice would you give to yourself at the beginning of your career?
That's a very good question. And I will tell you the number one thing, never, ever, ever burn a bridge. Because young people don't think of that. 20-year-olds, they don't think. But the person that's just a little coach in the corner may one day become the biggest director or booking agent, they may become president of the United States. You never know who's going to be what. So treat everybody with kindness and respect. Everybody. Because A, it's the right thing to do, and it makes you feel a hell of a lot better. And B, if you want to have a career, you want to be respected and well-liked, and you want people to say, oh, I'd love to work with her. She's so fun. She's so kind. She's never said a bad word about anybody. That's the person you want to be, and that's who I hire.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. This was so pleasant to talk with you.
Oh, I'm glad. It was a pleasure to talk with you, too. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Nathalie.
Thank you, Shannon. I really appreciate this, and good luck, and thank you for doing this for our industry.
That was my interview with Nathalie Yves Gaultier. What an interview it was. We covered so much. I think what stood out to me so much about Nathalie in this interview was she knows what she's good at, which is finding talent and directing it. And she's also very good at finding people who are the best at what they do, whether that means coaching, whether that means producing, making music for her. She's great at finding these talents and putting them to work. She is unwavering in her pursuit of greatness. She mentioned that not everyone gets a trophy in her company. Not everyone is allowed in. And that is a reality in the entertainment industry, whether we're talking acting or circus or dance. And if you do get a contract, something to look out for, in addition to how many shows a week you'll be performing. Are you getting paid by the show, by the week, by the day? But also, how are you insured? In the event that you get injured, who is taking care of it? Do you need your own private insurance? Or is the company hiring you going to cover something if you were to get injured or sick? That's such a great piece of advice, and something that I really hope any aspiring artist takes to heart out there if they are not lucky enough to have someone like Nathalie representing them. To learn more about PeTiTe CiRqUe, you can visit the website lestudio.la.com. That's LESTUDIOLA.com. They're on Facebook as PeTiTe CiRqUe and on Instagram, PeTiTe CiRqUE Official. As for me, my website is theartistathlete.com. You can follow me on Instagram for aerial training tips and inspiration at _artist_athlete, or on Facebook, The Artist Athlete. And if you want to directly support the podcast, visit patreon.com/theartistathlete to make a pledge today. If you like what you're hearing, please subscribe, rate, and review on whatever platform you're listening on. There are new interviews with amazing guests every Monday. Talk at you later, friends, fans, and enemies. The Artist Athlete podcast is supported solely by donations from people like you. Here's what some of those people have to say.
Hey there, friends, fans, and enemies. This is Chris Alston, Patreon of the Artist Athlete podcast. Straps artist and lyra performer and acrobat out of Greenville, South Carolina. So, if you're ever passing through, make sure to stop in and see me and my friends. We have a wonderful space, and we'd love to see you.
Hi, my name is Erica Lee. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm an aerialist. I teach performing arts to elementary school during the day and do pole and slings and rope by night. I really, really like the Artist Athlete podcast because it gives me a lot of circus goals to look forward to. It gives me a lot of insight on what's going on around the world in circus. And that's why I'm Patreon.